Hey Raj, welcome to the SABM podcast.
Hey Scott, awesome to be here.
Yeah, man, glad to have you on. And I know that we connected, I think maybe a month ago, and you were telling me about this story of your pathway into business ownership. And I'm like, man, that was kind of cool, kind of a different way of finding an opportunity. So excited to have you on here today to share your story. And maybe just to kick off, the name of your company is Lone Star Attorney Service, and maybe just if you want to kick off and share what it is that you do, and I definitely want to get into the way that you found this opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an exciting story, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with you. But Lone Star Attorney Service is a litigation support firm based out of Harris County. It's the largest process service company down here. Whenever there's a lawsuit, the citation, the petition of the plaintiff needs to be served in person to the defendant. And our company is the agency that does that for attorneys and other process service companies. So we have a network of process servers that goes door to door and serves these citations and petitions and informs defendants of lawsuits pending against them for cases, for personal injury cases, debt collection, family law, the whole gambit.
Yeah. And then how did you find this opportunity? I'm just trying to think back to our initial conversation. I was
That's
like,
that's where the story part of it comes in. So, about 2 years ago, I was at a pretty low point in my life.
okay.
I'd been just to give you some background on myself, I did West Point, did the Army, came back to Houston, got an MBA. Post MBA, I didn't go there with the intent of being an entrepreneur. I went there with the intent of becoming an investment banker. So I worked for 3 years at an investment bank, did oil and gas transactions, then um, took the experience there, went to a LNG company, worked there in commercial strategy, just a very in the box finance job. Um, the boss of that company had me create a presentation for what I thought was raising capital for the project, but turned out that it was to actually sell the business. And so
Hmm.
2 years ago, I found myself out of a job after that company had sold. I had an angry wife that was filing divorce against me, and I needed to figure out a way to quickly make some money. The options at that, just while I was looking for the next opportunity. So I was interviewing, I was doing all kinds of other stuff. I just needed to figure out a way to make money in the interim while I found my next gig. And so there's a guy that came to my door to serve me divorce papers, and I just asked him casually how much he charged for delivering each paper. And he told me some wild number, like 100 and something bucks. So I thought to myself, I could knock out 10 of these just in and around the zip code that I live in a span of a couple of hours and continue to pay my bills and just do something that was flexible on time, could make enough to pay my bills and just have the time to look for my next opportunity. So I started doing that, went door to door serving papers, and got really close with the owner of one of the companies that I was contracting with, Lone Star Attorney Service, which is the company that I bought. At that time, Patrick and I got close. He would just ask me ad hoc questions about general general business. We'd share ideas. He'd come to me with a crazy idea that he had. I'd give him my thoughts on it. He had me do a little bit of analysis, business development, go to attorneys' offices and share Lone Star Attorney Service materials, just stuff like that. And so over time, that relationship grew closer and closer. We had a lot of trust in one another. And Patrick told me around last December that he was selling the company. He was merging with another entity, and the combined company was being bought out by another strategic, larger process service company. So we fell out of touch until about March when he called me up. He told me the deal had fell through, and he needed someone to organically scale Lone Star and really build it up so he could get it prepared for a sale once again. And so rather than take that job, I made him a counter offer to just buy his business. And he liked the idea. I liked it. We had a little bit of trouble with the financing until we came to an agreement, just with all the changes in the SBA rules. But at the end of it, he came out happy. I came out happy, and I'm now the owner of Lone Star Attorney Service.
That's pretty crazy, man. So, like, I don't want to laugh, like you're at this low point and
Yeah, no, it
um
is. It's an entertaining story. It's one of those And no, I want you to get a kick out of it, and I want everyone that listens to get a kick out of it too, because it's just such an unconventional way to fall into entrepreneurship. Um,
But
so
but think about like, so you're at this low point, but your like radar was on, right? So it was, first of all, like, you kind of turned these different experiences that one might have just in everyday life, into like an opportunity, right? And so the first opportunity was, figuring out that, there was money to be made in serving papers, and it's like better than delivering Uber Eats, right? So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
so,
totally.
and you could make a few $1,000 in a couple hours, and hey, that's a way to, bring in some immediate income. So there was an opportunity
Hmm.
there, and you you did it. Like, you took it, right? It wasn't like the traditional job or the traditional, you didn't go to a recruiter, right? And like, like, an
Yeah.
interview with Fortune 500 companies. It's just like you saw an opportunity that was right in front of you, and you took it. um, but then what it led to next was really the interesting thing, right? So you built this relationship with, one of the folks that you were working with, that you were helping deliver papers for. Um, and, like, with your, all of the experience that you have, right? And like how smart you are. And, he saw value in that. Like, wow, Raj is a pretty smart guy. Right. And, and you built trust. And then, I guess the second opportunity that you took, that, you, you took, was the, like, you kind of turned the conversation with, I forget his name, but the
Patrick?
original, yeah,
Yeah,
Patrick, the original
Patrick, yep.
Lone Star owner, into like an opportunity that you could maybe buy his business, right? And so I
Hmm.
think those are like two pretty cool examples of, just conversations that you had that, other people might have in their day-to-day life, that, but you kind of had your radar on and turned those into some pretty cool opportunities.
So so the first conversation that you alluded to, I think that the crazy thing about that was just the unique set of depressing circumstances that I was in. I was interviewing for large companies. I was interviewing at investment banks. I was interviewing at oil and gas companies. I was looking into conventional employment, but emotionally, I just don't think that I was there. I don't think that those interviews really went well, and my mind just wasn't in it. So what I needed was something where I could just turn my brain off, go out, do something. And it did take a certain degree of awareness to be able to ask that question when that guy showed up to my door. Um, as far as the second part, I think that the key, the key opportunity that I saw there was not necessarily my mind telling me that it was a good idea to form a relationship with Patrick so I could buy his company one day. I think it was just me talking to him with no intention whatsoever.
Hmm.
I think that like the whole that's where the whole idea of building relationships and not really expecting anything from anybody and just helping out where you can. I think that's where all of that comes into play because there's a lot of there's a lot of lessons out there and a lot of LinkedIn memes I like to call them where uh it's not about the what, it's about the who, it's about the relationship. And I think that this is a prime example of that. I think that because I was just unconditionally helpful to Patrick. I mean, I didn't ask for any money. I didn't ask for anything in return. I just helped him out just because it was the right thing to do. And it grew into a very fruitful relationship. And he's still a part of the organization even now, as a minority owner.
I just feel like that's an amazing story, man. And I remember you sharing that with me, a month ago when we first connected. And it's almost like you like let go of all ego, right? Like, you just kind of,
Yeah.
it's just like, hey, I want to be useful, right? And help
Yeah.
somebody, and like, just left your ego at the door. And
Yep.
lo and behold, like, the
Opportunity
universe
presented
opened
itself.
up to like
Yep. Yep.
this opportunity that you have today. I just feel like that's so cool, man. And to share that on the podcast, and maybe maybe there's somebody listening, right? That's like, looking to buy a business or looking to start a business. And it's like, hey, things are happening like in your everyday life. Like just kind of
Yes.
be open to it and
Yes.
drop your ego and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And there there's a lot to say about also being willing to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty and really get involved in a business that you're interested in buying. So, there's a lot of guys out there, guys and girls out there that have these that have great ideas to buy landscaping businesses and HVAC businesses, but don't really know how to mow a lawn or fix an AC. So I think that those businesses are a great opportunity where you can really dive in and work for the business and develop a relationship with the seller organically versus presenting them a spreadsheet or just some great idea of how you're going to improve their business without even knowing how to do what the business does. So I don't think there's any shame in, working for a business that you want to buy for a period of time, just doing like the low level task, whatever they might be. So if it's a landscaping business, go push lawnmowers for a couple of months. If it's a HVAC business, go be a AC technician for a couple of months. If it's, a auto shop, fix cars for a couple of months. And I think that that goes a long way with the seller of that business too, because then they have the confidence that the person that wants to buy their business actually knows what they're doing. And I think that that played a huge role in my relationship with Patrick as well, is that he knew that I could work with process servers because I was one of them. He knew that I had a good understanding of the business operations because I did the business operations. And I think that that really goes a long way in building the intangible qualities that the buyer is looking for in a seller. Because you have to remember that a lot of these older business owners started off doing what their business does. So like the guy that originally started Lone Star Attorney Service was a process server who just organically grew his business, and it ended up being one of the oldest. By the time he sold it, was one of the oldest, largest process service companies in Harris County. But it all started with a guy delivering papers. It wasn't a guy with a bunch of ideas that didn't want to actually do the work.
Very good advice. Very good advice. So I'm glad, so glad you're on here today just to kind of talk through that. And now, how long has it been since you bought the company?
We're closing in on 3 months now.
Okay, so pretty recently. Uh,
Hmm.
so just walk us through the last 3 months. What are some of your goals, challenges, so maybe even just like looking out over the rest of this year, what are your biggest goals?
Yeah,
And
so
yeah,
um, owning a business, I'd say the biggest challenge has just been the emotional burden that comes with leading employees. So um, a lot of I'll just start with the first 30 days, right? A lot of the long-standing advice, even the ones that we get as platoon leaders, is you just kind of sit and watch for the first month or two. Um, I got a great piece of advice from another entrepreneur that I met with, um, in that when it comes to acquiring a business, what you should really do is make all the big changes within the first 30 days rather than just sit back and do nothing. Because all the employees there have this positive bias towards change because they're worried about whether they're going to have a job or not. And so that was probably one of the most useful pieces of advice that I've ever gotten. Because I came in, got rid of the people that I didn't want, implemented all the policies that I wanted to implement all within the first 30 days, before everyone was settled into their roles. After I had the correct staff in place, another great piece of advice that I got is that it was crucial to have some type of operating system in place, whether it's EOS or scaling up or any of the other ones. So I spent the money to start doing that. We have an implementer coming in. His name is Michael Gentry here in Houston. He's been helping us implement something called EOS, which has been pretty instrumental. It's basically a mechanism for accountability. You set your goals, build traction, and really run the business in a systematic way. But the challenges, yeah, so far have just been the emotional burden that comes with implementing widespread policy changes. I had to let go of the first person I've ever let go of, had to do hiring. We hired 2 new employees since I got here. And then the vision for this company is to develop it into a one-stop shop for litigation support. So right now we focus only on the service of process side of it. but the
Hmm.
goal is to do all the e-filing, service of process, videography, deposition, um, data management, records retrieval, pretty much every step of the litigation support process, so that attorneys just need to come to one shop here in Houston, and their litigation is all on autopilot. And then also adding judgment collection on the back end of it. There's a lot of opportunity here because all those different pieces of the litigation support process are pretty much just people. There's really no agency that does that here. The entire industry is super fragmented, but highly crucial and essential. And so there's just a lot of opportunity to roll up a bunch of different entities and become a one-stop shop.
Yeah, and it seems like there's a lot of yeah, a lot of room to run, a lot of opportunity, and I'm sure those services, once you start adding additional services, they all kind of play off of one another, and
Hmm.
you do become the stop shop for your customers, and that's a huge value add, right?
Yeah.
And
And
what
go ahead.
yeah, what skill sets are most valuable to you, or what is there, I guess, as far as the folks listening, like where are you stuck? Are there any people that you're looking types of people that you're looking to connect with, or skill sets that are valuable, that sort of thing?
Um, yeah, I mean, I guess where I'm stuck right now is I've never really had exposure to growing and scaling a business. So like the marketing side of it, how to manage growth. At what point do you start hiring? How do you quantitatively analyze when you need to hire more people? Is it just when you kind of feel like you're bursting at the seams and need to hire someone, or is there some like systematic way to do that? And like at what point do you decide that your operations are good enough to start scaling? Um, is it like what are the quantitative measures to figure out whether the operations are good enough that the company is ready for growth? And so I think that the growth part of it is really where I'm lacking in expertise. And so yeah, that's kind of the ceiling that I'm stuck at is how do you effectively manage growth in a systematic way?
Yeah, so I'm sure, hanging around with other business owners and folks I'm sure there's folks that are listening, right, that have that
Hmm.
experience, and might reach out and help. And yeah, it's just how do you know, right? How do you
Yeah,
know?
like how,
But at
yeah,
least you
what's
have a
the
business, right? At least you have a product. You don't have to invent one. You
yeah, yeah,
um so that's good, and you've got customers, and it sounds like a pretty good plan, and you're still in the early innings, only
yeah,
the third month. So
yeah. And we're at a stage right now where you can run a lot of things on gut feeling, but I don't know how long that'll last. Um, there's going to be a point where things need to be a bit more systematic. Hiring processes need to be tighter, growth needs to be managed effectively. A lot of the systems need to be buttoned up. Uh, and so all the things that I'm sort of running on intuition and gut feeling now may not work as the company starts getting bigger and bigger.
all right, and then I guess maybe on the bigger and bigger subject, what is your who are your customers, and can they be located anywhere, or like how do you, yeah, as far as if we can help with business development, what would be some good introductions for you?
So all of our clients are basically attorneys, litigators specifically. We do nationwide service of process all over the country. Right now, our primary geography is Harris County in Houston, Texas. We're looking to pretty much become the sole provider in the entire state of Texas. And so I guess any attorneys, any other process service companies that we could roll up into our network, any other owners of litigation support businesses that I can converse with would be great. And just yeah, love talking to lawyers, seeing how we can help, what's helpful to them. Um, yeah, it's essentially the clientele that we serve. Paralegals, lawyers, anyone involved in the legal industry.
All right. And we'll certainly put your contact info in the show notes, kind of at the end of this. We'll get that from you, and so folks can reach out and connect. And I think that's how we initially got connected. Just
Yeah.
you're doing outreach, and it's like, hey, man, let me have you on the podcast. Because I think
Yeah.
your story is really interesting, right? And I talk with a lot of people that are looking to buy a business,
Hmm.
and oftentimes it's their first business. And I just feel like that story that you shared, your story about, you're kind of at this low point and you just kind of set your ego aside and just went with the opportunity that was like right in front of you. Somebody knocked on the door and like, hey, how do you make money? Right. And hey, let
Yeah.
me try
Yeah.
this out. And then just um kind of going from there, you know, like you kind of went how long ago? Like how long was that process? So that from
Yeah.
that when that person knocked on the door to 3 months ago, which was what, June, right? I
June.
guess.
Yeah.
So
So the
like
guy knocked on my door in August of 2023. The guy
okay.
knocked on my door in August of 2023. And it was that point that I asked him. So about took 21 months, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a 21-month process from him knocking on my door to me then getting a process server certification, which took about a month, to me then reaching out to a bunch of other process service companies to try and get contract roles.
Okay.
And then one of those was Lone Star Attorney Service. Oh, and then my first introduction to Patrick, he called me into Lone Star Attorney Service. I came in like a suit and a shirt, and everyone there was just kind of casual in jeans and stuff, and came with a resume and just super professional, and it was like way over the top. And I remember him making a photocopy of my resume because he was like, I've never seen someone this qualified come in to be a process server.
You were a gift, man. A gift that walked
Yeah,
right through the
yeah.
door. Who is this guy?
And every time after that, if I came in to, pick up documents or sign something, we'd just kind of connect for a bit and, chit chat for 20, 30 minutes. He'd put some stuff on the screen and ask my thoughts on it. Um, Eventually that grew into me representing Lone Star they have process server conventions, at like conventions at whenever I would serve papers to law firms, he'd have me drop off some brochures and business cards. And um even when he was um in the process of selling, he tapped into my some of my knowledge for, how for valuation and what kind of things would lead to a higher valuation. And he kind of talked to me through that process as well. And then I thought it was all over when I got a call from him again in March. Uh, and it was the most fortuitous, hap, one of the most fortuitous things that's happened to me.
That's pretty cool, man.
And it all
Well,
just came from a from a relationship. Um,
yeah. Yeah, man. So just, you know, you were kind of probably the answer to someone's prayer, right? Like you went out into the world. You 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 tried to be useful, right? You served your apprenticeship in the serving paper space industry, right? And
yeah,
you learned the
yeah,
business, but you were really, also the answer to someone's prayer, right? That he also probably like put his intention out there of he's looking for somebody like you, right? Maybe, not you exactly, who knows, right? Like he had a goal and he's like, hey, he was looking to sell his business and you were the answer. And maybe
yeah.
initially he didn't see that because he was going down the road of a different buyer. And so I don't know, man. I guess the lesson here is, like,
I mean,
just go.
there's a couple lessons here that I learned. One is don't be afraid of getting your hands dirty. There's no work that's beneath us. It's important to really know the business and be able to do every part of it before you buy. The second lesson is relationships go a long way. This deal would not have been possible without the close, trusting relationship that we had with one another. And I mean, we just we literally just liked each other. It was just, a great working, trusting relationship. I mean, there like when I bought the business, there was hardly any diligence. We trusted each other quite a bit. I started coming into the office in May, a month before I even bought it, just to just to do diligence. We announced to the employees that the company was going through the sale, kind of mid to late May. And yeah, it was just, there was just so much transparency throughout the process. And he's along for the ride now. He's a minority owner, and that sort of mitigated a lot of the traditional risk that comes with buying a business from someone. Um, a lot of it is seller financed, so that mitigates a lot of risk for me as well. And yeah, I think that those are the oh, and then the third biggest lesson that I learned in this is that whenever one door closes, there's going to be several more that open up, but you have to step through them. Um, in my case, I mean, I would have never thought that post divorce, post layoff, I would um, just 2 years later be the owner of such a cool business that I love working in. An industry with so much potential and growth and opportunity. So I think those are my three takeaways from everything that's happened over the past 3 months.
Well, congratulations, Raj, and thanks for sharing your story. And yeah, really excited for you. And what's the best way for folks to get in touch with you, to learn more about Lone Star Attorney Service, to connect with you? And I'm happy to put your contact info in the show notes.
Yeah, the best way to reach out would be LinkedIn, my email, Raj at lonestar@attysvc.com. Uh, yeah, it's essentially what it is. Lone Star Attorney Service was just too long of a handle, so we shortened it to ATTYSVC. It's just an abbreviation for Lone Star Attorney Service. And then yeah, those two would be the probably the best avenues to reach out, and I'll be happy to connect with anyone looking to buy a business. Love connecting with other entrepreneurs that have gone through or are going through the same challenges that I'm currently facing at the moment. Um, and yeah, just happy to have a conversation with anybody that's looking for some guidance, maybe not in the greatest place, in the trenches looking for a business to buy. Happy to lend a ear, get advice, whatever. Just want to be part of the community and always love to help out.
All right. Sounds good, Raj. And I'm glad we connected. And here's to an awesome finish to 2025.
Yeah, yeah, likewise. Thanks so much for having me on and letting me share my story. And um, yeah, happy to help and connect in any way possible.